Today we're going to be talking about how I made the ultimate Canon M50 setup and ultimately how I'm using 4K and making it totally bearable. So stay tuned. What's up everyone, welcome back to Phones, Drones, Tech. I'm Original Dobo, and if you are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button, turning on notifications at the end of this video. Okay, so this is the Canon M50, and I have it mounted inside of a small rig, and I'm going to explain here in a moment as to why I've done that and why I'm choosing to use the Canon M50 for my everyday driver camera. So let's get started. So when I first bought the M50, I totally knew that there were some issues with 4K, like there was an extended crop factor that totally limited what you can do with it, and that dual pixel autofocus was non-existent when shooting in 4K. Oh, and by the way, you can only shoot in 24 frames per second. So going in knowing all of that, I basically bought the M50 so when I was doing reviews, I can get really sharp, crystal clear footage. And I knew I was gonna have to use manual focus, but I didn't really anticipate how crazy that crop factor was. Now, when I bought the M50, I bought just the body and I didn't buy a lens. I bought an adapter and I was using the lenses that I had for my SL2, which I'm shooting on right now. While that worked out well for the first couple of days, I needed something wider. A super wide lens like an 8mm to a 12mm lens was super ideal to handle that crop factor. So step one, I got myself a small rig. The small rig allows me to mount additional accessories to the Canon M50 and ultimately allows me to give it a little bit more of a substantial feel. Not only that, it sort of protects the Canon M50 against drops and scratches and things like that. Now the small rig doesn't hinder the way it's used at all. I still have full access to the battery slot along with the SD card, which is super nice. The other thing that I did was pick up a Rokinon 12mm mirrorless lens. That's the Canon M lens, which is also an f2 lens, so I can get that really shallow depth of field for a really wide angle lens. Now 12mm for me is a happy medium spot for a wide angle lens. It's not crazy wide, but I'm still able to get all of my shot in, especially when I'm shooting in 4K. To top it off, that this lens is super sharp. Now the focus ring is really smooth. It makes pulling focus so much easier because the ring is just so smooth. I can't explain it any other way. If you have an M50, look at the Rokinon lens. It's probably the best purchase I've made for a camera to date. Moving away from the lens, I added in a field monitor. Now the field monitor was one of those things I was trying to think of, like, what can I do to be able to see how my shots actually framed up and really understand what that crop factor was doing. And yes, there is a flippy screen and the flippy screen is great, but it's really small. And a lot of times I would miss focus and I wouldn't find out until I just reviewed my footage. So now I'm always knowing whether I'm in focus. There's focus peaking built into this FeelWorld master monitor. It's the MA7 FeelWorld, by the way. It's a nice build quality. I'll talk about that more here in just a second. But there's focus peaking. I'm able to have my histogram on, and I can also see whether or not there's false colors or if areas of my image are overexposed. So there's a lot of benefits to having a field monitor. The MA7 is what I would consider a budget field monitor, but one of the best budget field monitors that are on the market right now. At $179, you really do get a great value for it. It's powered by Sony FA7 batteries, which in my experience, they last almost all day. I did pick up a couple of extra ones with a larger MAH to accommodate myself when I'm traveling. But overall, this is probably my favorite accessory that I've added to date. Able to see yourself in focus and able to see the audio levels along with your focus is so huge. I can't stress that enough. It is a big monitor. It is made out of all aluminum, but it does help get the job done. And you can bind all those together like sort of like a Megazord in a sense, and you've got yourself the perfect little setup. Yes, it's not a vlogging setup, so if you're looking to do vlogs, this is probably not going to be your cup of tea. But if you're looking to do sit down head talking shots like this, or maybe if you're just filming reviews, I think this setup really works really well. And it's definitely serving its purpose for me. I'm really trying to make that jump into 4K, and I think the Canon M50 is the perfect way to do it, especially if you are a Canon fanboy like myself. I love Canon cameras. I love their color science, and I'm just not ready to go away, but I'm also not ready to quite commit to the price of the EOS R. I really hope that Canon produces an APS-C style 4K sensor that could be the successor to the 80D without breaking the bank. Come on, Canon, you gotta do it. But in the meantime, the M50 is totally gonna get the job done. and I think it looks really good. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think this setup would work for you? Would this be something that you would use in your office or your space for your headshots or just for your reviews? I think it works pretty well. I'll be sure to include links in the description below where you can check out all this gear I just talked about today so you can make a setup just like this. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed, hit the like button. If you didn't, hit that other button. That tends to work just fine as well. I will catch you in the next one. Stay original.